One thing is certain, winners are not welcome. That is the rule at everyday sportsbooks. They love it when you lose, but the second you start winning, you're going to be banned, limited, you're going to be ghosted. I absolutely deplore the everyday sportsbook because in my opinion, they are morally bankrupt. Now more on that in a minute, but let me start off by telling you that I'm a full-time professional gambler. I've made millions from sportsbooks, both softs and sharp sportsbooks that is, and I'm going to be showing you in these up and coming videos how you can do exactly the same. I'm Tony from Analyst. Let's crack on with today's video. Let me start by explaining how modern sports books work, just so you can get a better understanding. So first of all, they're out there to sell you a dream. You know, they want you to believe that you can become a millionaire through betting. That's why you see a lot of advertising actually plug in the betting companies, and also you've got the affiliate websites that basically say that every sports book is a dream and you can win a fortune. To get you subscribed, you know, joining up, is they're going to offer you a bonus. It's called an FTD, a first time deposit bonus. If you are useless at betting, then they're probably going to give you a lot more incentives along the way. You might get further bonuses, free bets, etc. And it's going to carry on, you know, because their job is to extract as much money out of you as possible. Now, one of the issues that sports books have got nowadays is that they've got to offer a massive betting program, you know, big content. And that's what makes it easy for you actually, if you do get some knowledge, to pick them off. But they're doing this by actually buying in data from third-party services. That's why you see a lot of them at the same odds or slow changing odds, right? Because these people that are selling them this service, they don't necessarily have a vested interest in the sports book. So that's why sometimes you see these what they call lazy odds. And if you start betting them, these are the things that are going to get you in trouble. They're not employing odds compilers, right? Most of it is all about the risk management. They're going to be just looking into your betting accounts, informing them if you're doing anything out of the ordinary. And this is how they get around to sort of closing winning account. But basically at the end of the day, you know, if you're beating the odds, it's a sin. So if you're an advantage player, you're going to have a bit of an issue at some stage. And also if you are beating the CLV, you know, even on your own back, the closing line value, then that's going to lead to issues as well. So the reason I wanted to pick up on this was because of a recent thing that was going on in the UK with a company called AK Bets. Now, I don't know whether you was following this, a lot of it was on Twitter, but basically a guy placed a £20 bet with them on an NFL match, funny enough, you know, on the player props, and odds of 11-2, which is plus 550 in American, and he won the bet and it cost the company 110. You know what that meant for them? They had to close his account, and the reason they gave was because they had the best odds, they had the lazy odds. I would like to say that AK Bet should join the big boys, but at the end of the day, they're all pretty much the same. So let's just quickly go through a few other sports books just to give you some idea of what can be happening if you do become a profitable gambler. So let's take Ladbrokes for instance. Recently, they refused the man a £320,000 payout after he did a double on two horses winning a massive odds, and unfortunately for them, it came in that they had to pay $320,000. He was going to take it to court, but the actual governing body in Ireland told Ladbrokes they should pay, and they agreed to. But it took about a year to get to that payment. If we look at Bet365, you've got Denise Coates there. She was the biggest taxpayer in England for a couple of years. You know, that company made absolute fortunes. Now, they refused bets, but to be fair to Bet365, they do tend to pay out. So when they actually close the account, they do pay. And when they limit, you can probably still get a little bit down on, you know, the top sort of games, and at least keep the account alive and make it still a little bit profitable. I just also want to mention that with Denise Coates, with Bet365, they actually made a lot of their money in the black markets, and that is like China, Turkey, and so on, right? They had betting companies over there, they were taking bets through. It's totally against the law, so when they start playing the ethical card, I'm afraid they've got nothing more to say. William Hill, they've always had a bad reputation. I don't know whether you know this, but originally William Hill the founder, this is going back, a long time ago, he was actually an off-market bookmaker in the UK. Of course, then gambling became legal. I think it was 1961, and from then on, William Hill grew into a proper brand. It was a big on the high streets, had most of the betting shops at one stage. They changed ownership many times over the years, but the moral of the story is that they're still pretty much a poor, seedy company. I just want to mention they are in the States, so if you are in the States there, just be a little bit wary of their practices. Recently, they turned down a man who had won a lot of money in a betting shop. He had to sit there. They got the police in on him. There's photos, images of it all over the internet. And you're going to get quickly limited with William Hill. And they've also got a bad reputation with the affiliates. So just bear that in mind. That sort of says what type of company it is. As far as if we look a little bit further afield and we go to Austria, you've got the B-Win. That's Norbert Teufelberger. Now, my daughters went to school with his daughter, so what can I say? I know the guy, but as far as a company go, very, very poor. They're going to limit you at the first opportunity. Actually, I had 3 bets with them in play betting, very small bets, just to see if it was working, and unfortunately, they closed my account after the 3rd bet, right? And that was nothing special. There was nothing in. It was just basketball, just playing my little game, and I was playing with very small sums, just to tee it up, right? So B-Win, they were definitely stay away from company. Now, I've got a gripe with the Unibet. The owner there, the founder, should I say, Anders Strum, he actually won his money by betting on horse racing. They won a syndicate bet on some kind of trotting races in Sweden, and that gave him the money to get started. So originally they were taking telephone bets. He's been arrested a few times in different countries. I think it was in Belgium. Also Teufelberger, the same, just for taking bets from customers from, places like Malta, because earlier on it was a little bit all tricky before it all sort of legalized itself. But now playing the holier than thou card. What can I say about him? He's a bettor himself, placed a lot of bets. I met him once in Frankfurt, and all he was talking to me about was, can he get money down? Unibet or dodge pots for paying out. They've got a real bad attitude, and they're going to put you through the ringer before they settle any kind of bets with winners. And of course, we don't want to forget the Irish bookmakers, because some of those are the biggest joke on the planet. What can I say? Paddy Power, that's where this AK bets originally worked, so that sort of explains a few things. Paddy Power, well, you're going to be lucky to get 2-3 bets down. They advertise that you can get big money down. They've got advertisements, selling the dream, so to say, but the second you start winning by them, you are limited straight away. Paddy Power, absolute desperate company. And then I've got one called QuinnBet. Now, QuinnBet are pretty famous for actually going back on your bets within your account, probably changing them. There's a lot of complaints that bets have gone missing, that stakes have been refunded rather than the actual bet standing. QuinnBet has got a desperate reputation. That's another company you should really be staying away from. It's just a small private thing, and that's the way they're going to stay, because with this attitude that they've got, they don't deserve any more. And then you've got one called Boyle Sports, and they're pretty much in the QuinnBet category. I'm not saying that they're necessarily corrupt in terms of the way they're changing the bets afterwards, right? But they're going to ban you very quickly. Got a terrible reputation. They're known as being a real sort of £5 outfit. If you show any kind of sense, right, I'm afraid you're going to be nullified pretty quickly, right? So stay away from the likes of Boyle Sports. And then if we switch over to the US, look at MGM, for example. Sarah Branning, I think it was, compliance officer, she said they ban 1% of their clients for advantage betting. I would say it's probably nearer 10 to 15%. That's the truth of it. Now, I do know some of these clients obviously are buying in third-party accounts, but MGM got a pretty bad reputation as well. They're going to put you through the ringer. You will get paid eventually, but it's something that, what they offer is not necessarily fulfilled. DraftKings, what can we say about DraftKings? Very aggressive with the VIP offers. They want to get you on board. They want to get you playing more bets, bigger stakes, especially if you started losing at the beginning, right? I've even had some advantage players be offered the VIP program, but it lasted probably 2 or 3 days until they were banned. Do you want to make profiting easy? Then go sign up to Bet Hero. This iron tool scans over 20 million bets per minute to find you advantage plays. You have the option of expected value or sure bets, and from what I've seen, this tool has more depth than the competition put together. And best of all, it's priced at the lower end. People are making fortunes using Bet Hero, and you could be the next. What I would be interested to find out from you guys is if you've had accounts closed, who was it by? What was the reason? What did they say to you? And copy something into the comments, because I'd really like to know that. In my opinion, it's time for bettors really to show some balls here, show a bit of spine, go after these sports books. I should also mention that they should work on getting their odds correct. That would be a good starting point. They don't have to be over the price on everything, right? That's how we catch them out. But the short and curlies of it is that the bookmakers built massive empires on basically taking bets from countries where it wasn't allowed. They've exploited the customer for many years. Surely to God they can give the customer a fair crack at the whip. And I would also just want to mention that I'm going to follow this video up with another one showing you how you can keep betting accounts a little bit longer if you are profitable. And as mentioned before, you can go and use Bet Hero to take advantage, right? That will give you a fantastic guide. They're covering like 380 sports books there, and that's the way to take advantage of wrong prices with sports books. It won't last forever, but let's just try to get you to that next level where you can profit from sports betting. I'm Tony from Betting Analyst. I'm out of here. Take care for now. Bye bye.